Based on the unsuccessful Marvel Legends Haslab, he is Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. Hello and welcome back to Jacob's Toys. Please do like, share, subscribe, all of those things. All support to the channel is very much appreciated. Now in this video, as you can probably tell, we're going to do a Ghost Rider, a Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. Now let's be honest, there was the Haslab, Marvel Legends Haslab Ghost Rider Engine of Vengeance that didn't come to fruition. Now, say what you want about the actual Haslab, the Robbie Reyes figure was pretty cool looking and I was really hoping to add him to my collection. But as the Haslab never actually came to fruition, I decided to take a look at how I can create my own version of it. And here we go. Now I had a bit of a hunt around in Hasbro's back catalogue and I found this Andros figure from Power Rangers Lightning collection. It's a pretty cool figure. In the box you can't really see what the body looks like because he's got this soft good cape. However, he is turning up in loads of places discounted right down, and he's actually a pretty cool standard figure. You put the helmet on and he looks like a motorcycle rider or something. But the thing that really appealed to me was that it was a slightly smaller build than like a standard Marvel Legends kind of male figure, and it had a whole bunch of articulation. It had like the motorcycle boots already built in, had motorcycle gloves, had the butterfly joints in the shoulders, had the chest swivel, the ab crunch, the waist swivel. So it had a whole bunch of articulation, and I thought, you know what, that could actually work as a pretty good base, and I wouldn't have to do a huge amount of actual customizing to turn him into a Robbie Reyes figure. Let's be honest, it pretty much has it there. It's the basis of what that figure was. It's the black kind of leather suit, the gloves, the boots, and the articulation. So yeah, so with very little work, very little customizing, I'd be able to kind of turn this into a Robbie Reyes. So yeah, I was happy with that. Do check out various stores and places. I know that places over here like TK Maxx in the UK are selling this figure for about a £5, I think it is, and he comes with a whole bunch of accessories as well, so if you're a collector of those kind of things, you do get a lot for your money. Now the first thing I'm going to have to do is cut off this kind of holster. This is for the weapon that he's got, just using a scalpel. Really simple little cut there, and it takes the holster off. Now you cannot remove the whole belt. That is the only catch here, because the belt is kind of built in, so if you remove the belt it's going to leave a really big gap in between the upper part of the figure and the lower part of the figure, so you do have to leave the belt on. However, it does kind of work. It works with the trousers, it works with the kind of overall look, so it's not the end of the world. But the one thing you do have to do is get rid of this holster. Now I'm going for a really quick and easy way of doing that, because it's all made of black plastic. If I just shave down the holster and shave down the kind of excess plastic here as well, it will kind of disappear and eventually you won't really see it. So quite lucky that the figure I'm building, being Robbie Reyes, is black, and this figure is black as well, because if these were different colours this can cause a little bit of a nightmare when it comes to kind of disguise the little alterations that you make from time to time. So yep, just taking a bit of time to just shave it down. Don't want to cut too far into it because then I'm going to create a hole. So and as I said, my initial thought was I could just cut the belt off, but can't be done. And because the figure is predominantly black, the only part of paint that we need to get rid of is that little logo on his chest. Now you can either paint over that with black paint, or you can use nail polish remover to actually remove it as you go. But there we go, I just put a little bit of paint over the front of it for the sake of the video, and you can see that it quite easily disappears. There's no real sign of that at all. So that's about it. That is the level of customizing that I had to do to this figure to make the body, the base body of Robbie Reyes. Now clearly we have to put the logo on him, so I thought about kind of sculpting it and all the rest of it, but then I was like, you know what, I'm going to get one of these Posca pens, a white Posca pen, and just kind of draw it on and see how it goes, see if that works and it gives the desired effect. Now I love these Posca pens for kind of little details like that. They're really good. They're not my preferred. Oh, just quickly, I didn't paint over the belt, so what I've done here is I've just turned it around so that I've got the back of the belt, the buckle is on the back, and the back of the belt is on the front. But like I was saying, I really like these Posca pens. They're really durable. They're really kind of precise, and if you're looking for kind of line work and that, they're a good kind of alternative. That's the right word. An alternative to painting. What I find as well is painting white and using a brush, you want to get those lines really straight, and painting, some paints can come out quite thin and all the rest of it, whereas a Posca pen, if you use it for your initial design anyway, at least, you get the desired effect. So you can get those lines nice and straight, and you can get a good base of the colour down. And this works as well if you're not necessarily doing white, but you want to do a different colour. If you do the base in white, you can then paint the other colour over the top, and it gives you a much more vibrant kind of look. So there we go, that was just really quick, and you can see straight away with only one coat it stands out. However, I'm really not pleased. That's not as straight as I thought it was as I was doing it. So while the paint's still wet, let's get a tissue. It's not even wet, this tissue. I'm just rubbing the paint off, and I'll get a little bit of water on my finger, and I should be able to just rub that off and start again. As you can see, I've taken a bit of the black paint off, so you can see that design coming through. That was silly of me. But either way, let's just crack on. Let's just go ahead and put his design on his chest here. Now, the argument could be had that he's not got a jacket, and this design is on his jacket, but I'm skeptical. I don't think that will make a huge difference once it's all finished. Now, for anyone that's not familiar with Posca pens, they are essentially paint pens. You can use them on a whole range of different materials, from like glass, plastic, all sorts of stuff. And yeah, they paint on wet and they dry. They're a really good pen to use. Now, I would only suggest using them on action figures if you're going to seal it, if you're going to put some kind of clear varnish on the figures and seal the paint in, just because they dry a little bit, not chalky, but a little bit kind of, I don't know how to, well, chalky is maybe the best explanation, but they don't dry the same as your actual kind of hobby paints, but they do last. They don't just kind of come off. So I'll only use Posca pens for very small details, so little lines here and there, and details like that. This is probably the most I've used the Posca pen to paint something, and even still I'm only going to use it for the initial kind of undercoat of the design, because you can get a much straighter line with a pen, or I can get a much straighter line with a pen than I can a paintbrush. So putting that initial design in kind of works in my opinion. So yeah, I'm just doing this in real time just so you can sort of see how quickly it takes to turn this figure into a Robbie Reyes. Experiment a little bit with the thickness of the lines. Now, his actual kind of costume design does vary from comic books a little bit, and depending when and who's drawing him, the design does change a little bit. The design I've gone for is as similar to the one included in the Haslab as possible. So I wanted to go for that kind of thinner look that kind of curves in towards the kind of crutch area a little bit more, and it's just kind of a nice big oversized C shape. I don't even know how you'd explain it, like an upside down W. I did have a Robbie Reyes custom that I did a few years back now actually, and I did it on, which one was it? I can't remember which Marvel Legends body it was, but size-wise, he stood shoulder to shoulder with the other Ghost Riders that I had on my display, and that never really sat right with me because Robbie is that little bit younger and he's a little bit smaller. So I wanted a Robbie Reyes that was going to kind of size well next to like a Johnny Blaze figure, for example, or like that retro carded Ghost Rider we've had recently. And that's what's really cool about this particular body mold, is it's kind of, I don't even know what age kind of bracket you'd put it in, like a 20-something year old maybe. So it's not quite as big, it's not quite as bulky, but it's still kind of fully formed. It's not a child's body, but it's big. As you can see, there's a little bit of white there where I've just had the belt in the wrong place when I started drawing the bottom half of this design. So I'm just going to go over that with a bit of black paint after it's dried. But because of the design I'm copying, the one from the Haslab project, I need to go over the belt and onto the kind of groin area a little bit just to get the length of those lines on either side. But you can see here with the Posca pen, even just on the camera, it's actually giving quite a decent coat. And as I said, I was going to use this as an undercoat. What I'll do is once it's dry, I'll go back with my paints, my hobby paints, and finish that off. And then once that's dry, I will put some of the kind of clear varnish over the top. You can pick that up like the matte varnish for figure building and stuff. You can get some from Games Workshop, like the Warhammer 40,000 stuff. They do some really good stuff, but you can pick it up pretty much anywhere, Amazon, eBay, all that kind of stuff. And it is well worth having, just because it helps kind of the paint's not kind of bleeding after a certain amount of time, or not so much with paint rub, but if there's a slight paint rub like this bit here with the chest, it doesn't touch, but over time it could rub away the little bit of paint. So what I find is if I put a bit of varnish over the top, it actually gives it a little bit more life. The only other design the only other kind of colour that I could see on the Robbie Reyes in the Haslab was the white on his gloves. I couldn't actually pick up on any other kind of details on the Ghost Rider figure, so I'm just going to put the white on his gloves. And again, what's really cool about this figure is he's already got the gloves on, so on his hand here are the kind of raised lines, if you like, similar to the Deadpool gloves. If anyone's got the Marvel Legends Deadpool, that's a bit of a better view of it. So yeah, it's just a raised portion over the back of the hand, and if I put the white paint on, because of the way the Posca pen works, it falls into the gaps and leaves the raised bit higher, so the black kind of stands out through the white, if that makes sense, and actually gives you quite a nice finish. So there we go. Really, really easy, and as long as you're kind of slow and steady, you're not going to go over your lines too much. You just kind of follow the design on the hand, and there we go. Very, very quickly, essentially now got a Robbie Reyes body. I just need to, as I said, put a second coat on using paints and varnish it. Now, in regards to the head, this is the head I've got. Now, this is a custom printed head by a friend of mine, RDJ Custom Creations. You can check him out on Instagram. I'll put a link to his profile in the description of this video. And he kindly printed this head sculpt for me, which has got like a translucent kind of fire effect, and it's very similar to the one that we saw on the Haslab. So there we go. Got that, and I painted that up, but I've not gone into detail on how I painted it because that would have made the video a lot longer, but I've used a metallic silver and then various other paints as well. And here he is. Here's the finished kind of item. This is my Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider figure. I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty chuffed with how he looked. I think he's turned out okay. I get a lot of questions about the chains that I use for my Ghost Rider figures in my photographs and stuff. They are actually Lego chains. Now, it wasn't me that came up with this idea, and I don't know who it was originally, so I can't give credit, but they are an incredible alternative to the chains that you get with the figures. There's translucent orange, there's grey, there's blacks, there's reds, there's all the different colours that you can imagine. This is the translucent orange. I have got a grey one as well that I've used on some of the figures, but they're very cheap to buy and they look fantastic on display and also in your action figure photography. But they are definitely a better and more fluid version, alternative than the version you get with the figures initially. But let's have a look at him next to the retro carded Ghost Rider, and here we go. Here's what I was saying. He stands that little bit shorter, so they do look like they're different ages. They look like they're different frames, and I think they look alright together. I'm quite pleased. It's a very basic, straightforward kind of custom repaint, but I'm really pleased to have this version of Robbie on my shelf. And I've threw him behind the camera, and this is the end result, if you like. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please do like, share, subscribe, and all of those things. If you've got any questions, bung them in the comments below. But there we go. That is my Haslab inspired Robbie Reyes custom stroke kit bash action figure. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon.